If you're a perfectionist, this video is for you. Now, people think perfectionism is some sort of secret strength, but if you're like me, you know that's a load of bull crap. In this video, I'm going to talk about how the heck do you deal with perfectionism without completely losing your mind. Hey guys, I'm Sasha, and this is Unleash Your Warrior, where I share tools and strategies to help you live a healthier and happier life. If you're new here, consider subscribing, hit the button below, and turn on your notification bell so you get updates every time I send out a new video, which is every Wednesday. Before we even get started, I'm gonna give you a heads up that it is super hot here where I'm filming in New England. I'm sweating, I have so many layers of powder on, but my hair is thick and it is just pouring out of me, so you're gonna get an extra shiny Sasha in this video. All right, so let's talk about perfectionism. What the heck is it and how do we deal with it? Sadly, it's not something anyone can just snap off. You know, I see a lot of videos out there that are like, your perfectionism. It's not a disease that you cure per se, but there are definitely ways to deal with it so you don't deal with some of the, debilitating effects like the disappointment in yourself, beating yourself up, really just kind of loneliness that all goes with being a perfectionist. So what is perfectionism really? It's actually really kind of boils down to fear of disappointment, whether it's disappointing someone you know or love or disappointing yourself. We end up doing things as perfectly as possible so we don't have to deal with the criticism either from other people or from usually ourselves. It definitely morphs into that as we're adults. And so as a defense mechanism, we kind of created this perfectionism to protect ourselves from the criticism. If I just do things perfect enough, person X won't criticize me. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as doing things perfectly. And so as adults, we end up then criticizing ourselves. And really, like I said, it could be pretty debilitating. It could be pretty lonely to be a perfectionism because you always have this pressure on yourself that things have to be perfect. You have to look perfect, etc. So here's the thing. You can't turn back time. You can't control whether or not other people are going to be disappointed in you. And you can't even control the triggers or those things that cause you to let that perfectionism out or that perfectionist out. So what the heck can you do? So here's the one and only way to deal with it. And you might not like this, but this is the realest talk you're going to hear all day. You have to accept the disappointment. That's it. Because the reality is, you are going to disappoint people for the rest of your life, and you are going to disappoint yourself. And the thing that really differentiates a perfectionist from maybe a non-perfectionist is the acceptance of the disappointment. And so it's one thing to just say accept disappointment, but it's another thing to say, okay, Sash, so how do you actually do that? Here's another example of when I disappointed someone I loved a lot. And that was my mom when I got all of these tattoos. She was beyond disappointed. I don't even think there's a word for how she felt about my tattoos. And looking back on it, I did the best thing I can do, which was accept her disappointment. But I knew that this was true to who I was and true to what I wanted. And so I just tried to openly and honestly communicate with her. Like, look, I know you wanted X from me. I did Y. I love you anyway, I know you love me anyway, and then move on. I mean, really, that's the best you can do. Like I said, you're always going to disappoint people, but you can't live your life for other people's expectations. They do love you anyway. And if for some reason you think they don't, you should probably get those douchebags out of your life. And when it comes to you and the pressure you put on yourself and the disappointment you might feel on yourself, you have to change the conversation. You have to really talk to yourself in a different way. Instead of focusing on what didn't go well and what didn't meet your standards, you have to start to accept what did go well and reiterate that to yourself. It's all about shifting your perspective and shifting the value that you place on what really is important to you at the end of the day. As Mel Robbins says, which, by the way, I love her, it's simple, but it's not easy. But it's totally possible. I have 30 years of behavior and attitudes and these tendencies that are perfectionist and type A and control freak in nature. And by shifting the way that I talk to myself, I talk about myself, I've been able to live a much happier, much more joyful, way less stressful life because of these things. And so that's why I'm making this video, to share with you guys that it can be done with you as well. So that's it. That's how you deal with perfectionism. There's no magic cure. You can't erase your brain, but if you do figure out how to do that, hook a sister up. You can't control the triggers, but what you can control is how you accept the disappointment and the conversation you have with yourself and others. Ultimately, don't put so much pressure on yourself, you guys. You only got one life. YOLO. All right, until next time.